Hi everyone! Today we will be talking about one of the theories that is associated with the Enneagram of personality, and namely the object relations. This is not a theory that belongs to the Enneagram in itself, but it has certain correlations and we can apply it in a really beautiful way to more deeply understand how these triads work and how these things apply to all of the 9 types. So all about that in the next few minutes. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. So, the object relations theory is a way to classify the 9 types into 3 different groups. If you've watched my previous videos, or if you're familiar with the Enneagram of personality, you probably know already there are many different ways to classify the Enneagram types. And when we say triads, we can group types into 3 based on many different, let's say, classifications. We have the intelligence centers, heart, head, and gut. We have the harmonic and the Hornevian triads, and we also have the object relations theory. I've mentioned a few things about this theory before in some of my previous videos, but today I want to explain to you a little bit better what it is and why it's so interesting. So this theory says that we have 3 types of groups: attachment group, frustration group, and rejection group. The attachment group comprises of types 3, 6, and 9. And this group refers to the fact that all of these 3 types have a tendency to attach themselves to something external. It can be to attach themselves to other people, or to attach themselves to certain situations or belief systems, and it's a way for them in a way to feel safe. So if we look at type 3 specifically, the achiever, this type has a tendency to focus on attaching themselves to others by adapting. Type 3 is very sensitive to other people's expectations and other people's values, or the things that seem to be important in society. And they want to be seen as excellent, outstanding, amazing in the work that they do, or in the, projects that they get involved in. And in order to do that, they try to comply in a way to these external perceptions of what they should be doing, how they should be acting, how they should project their self-image, because remember, 3 is a type that is very much focused on image, being part of the heart triad. And there's a tendency for 3s to feel like they lose themselves in the process, because they twist and adapt their identity so much to fit these external expectations of what one should be like, or what one should behave like, in order to be seen as outstanding. And sometimes when this attachment is severed, they feel like, they don't know who they are anymore. They don't know where they belong anymore. Type 6 is also an attachment type, the loyalist. And the way in which type 6 attaches themselves is by making sure they comply to these external expectations, especially if they come from an authority figure. They have this tendency to think, okay, what should I be doing to be safe? How can I adapt the way that I act, or the way that I do things, so that authority figures, or so that external belief systems think that the things that I'm doing are aligned with those different perspectives, or those different rules, or those different categorizational systems. So 6 finds a lot of safety and security, which is something very important to them, because they are part of the thinking triad, or the thinking intelligence center. And they find the safety and security by attaching themselves to these rules. And then type 9, the peacemaker, has a tendency to attach themselves to people that they love, or people that they want to be connected to, and they have a tendency to adapt their own opinions, their own feelings, to match the opinions and feelings of people around them. Because for type 9, it's very important that they stay out of conflict. They are probably one of the most, if not the most, conflict avoidant type, because on a deeper level, they are afraid of loss and separation from those that they love. So they adapt so much sometimes that, again, similarly to type 3, they might lose insight into what they really like and what their opinion really is. Now, moving on to the frustration group. Here we have types 1, 4, and 7. And what these 3 types have in common is a tendency to know what they want, to be able to go and get the things that they want, but then once they get it, to feel like it's not enough again, and they're frustrated again, and they want something else. And all of these types have a tendency to focus on an ideal, how things should be like ideally. But the problem is it's very hard to materialize those things in the real world. Hence, they are very much focused on feeling like, okay, there's something missing. There's something else that they should be getting or experiencing or being or whatever. So type 1 tends to be very idealistic in terms of how they think the world should be like. They tend to be perfectionists. They tend to focus very much on controlling themselves to be that perfect self, to be moral, to be good, to not be corrupted. So their frustration is very much directed at themselves, although it can look very much to the external world that they are always unhappy with how other people are like as well, because it seems like nobody is raising to their high levels or high standards for behavior, for morality, for work, and whatever else they might be interested in. Type 4, the individualist or the romantic, has an idealized perception of how a partner might fall in love with themselves. And because they are so focused with their own identity, wanting to be unique, wanting to be special, wanting to be authentic in how they represent themselves, type 4 individuals have a tendency to like really idealize their self-image of uniqueness, and then to also idealize the fact that a partner will really love them in the perfect way. So a lot of frustration that type 4 experiences is around romantic relationships and close connections with others, because they fear abandonment. And then type 7, here you might think, really, type 7 is a frustration type? Because the stereotype is that 7s are always happy and excited and enthusiastic and optimistic, which to an extent is true, but 7s can also often feel like they should be having more fun. They should be enjoying and experiencing life even more. They should have even more opportunities that take them out of their routine, that help them, explore the world and live in the world in such a way that is fulfilling, that is bringing them happiness and satisfaction. And when they idealize their ability to do all of these things, they also have a tendency to be frustrated because it seems like they are limited by their experiences or the things that are happening around them, and they're not able to fully live that, happiness or fun that they're wanting. And in the last group, the rejection triad, we have types 2, 5, and 8. The rejection types, have a tendency to believe that other people will reject them. They have this expectation that they will be rejected by other people, and as a consequence, they tend to reject themselves before that even has the chance to happen. So all of them have a tendency to not want to deal with their own needs. Type 2, the helper or the giver, has a strong tendency to reject their own negative feelings, their own thoughts, their own needs, especially on a more emotional level, but can also be on a practical level. And they direct all of their attention to other people, to catering for others, loving others, being generous to others, helping others, and so on and so forth. And this is, their subtle way of rejecting themselves. And they think, well, if I do all these things for others, maybe they will not reject me. But the deep belief that they will be rejected often makes them feel like no matter what they do for others, it's not enough to get love, which is their deepest desire. Type 5, the investigator, also has a tendency to reject and minimize their own needs. But here it's not because they want love from others, it's mainly because they want to make sure that they stay safe. So they have a tendency to withdraw in their own minds, because they are also withdrawn types. And they tend to minimize their emotional and physical needs very, very much, or to overlook their emotional and physical needs, because they feel like those can be obstacles in their ways or in their desire to find safety and security for themselves. Because being a thinking triad type, they are very much focused on finding their own safety and security and supporting themselves. And lastly, type 8 also is a rejection type, because they also tend to reject their vulnerability, sensitivity, their soft side quite a lot. They often feel like other people will not appreciate them and love them for their softness or for their weaknesses or vulnerabilities, so they always try to appear as strong, determined, assertive, in control, and to exude this image of like strength, of power, of determination. So because they are overly focused on that part of themselves and they overlook the other part of themselves, they are constantly rejecting really important components of the self, similarly to the other two types, connected with the fear that other people will also reject them. Okay, so these were the three types of object relation triads. We had the attachment group with types 3, 6, and 9, the frustration group with types 1, 4, and 7, and the rejection group with types 2, 5, and 8. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time with another video on typology.